Well, hello my friends, it's Shawn Petite and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So here is the wonderful winter project that we're creating today. Oh, the yummy texture on this. Here are the supplies that we'll be using. So I'm starting out on an 11 by 14 MDF board, and I have made some collage papers and I've cut them into strips. Now you see that I got two pieces down here, and I made a winter and a spring one, and what's really great about this is you can see how these two stencils can actually be used for all different kinds of things. And there's another reason why I did it this way, and I'll explain that at the end. So I was focusing on the winter scene and decided to do the spring scene, and so you won't get to see the full scene of me creating spring because it's the exact same process. So I have taken my rustic door stencil and my window stencil, and I have just kind of sketched out the lines on my MDF board. Now my rustic window stencil was actually too small for this door. It's made for the smaller door that I have, the other stencil that I have. But it gave me a good reference as to where I needed to have my lines. So I just ended up sketching them out and using the stencil as my guide. So now I'm just taking some gesso, and I am kind of painting in my lines here, and I'm doing things a little bit different than I typically do. Normally I put all of the texture down, but I didn't want to have any texture behind my door and my windows. I wanted that to be very different texture on the house. And so I'm just kind of laying out my ground, doors, and windows with some gesso. And now that I've got those painted out, I have taken those strips, and I am now going to kind of create these like you would see on the front of a house, like siding or wood or something like that. And so that's what the strips are representing. The writing on the strips is actually my writing and what I was feeling and the intention behind this piece. And again, I'm going to share all about that at the end of the video. So now that I've got all of the strips kind of measured out and exactly where the sizes that I need, because I have to kind of fit around the window and the door, I've got some Liquitex fluid matte medium, and I'm going to put all of those strips down with my matte medium. And I'm making sure to start at the bottom and overlapping going up, like you would see in siding or shingles or something like that. I really wanted that texture, and you can tell by the finished product, it just adds so much to the piece. I wrote out my words on a regular piece of copy paper that I had printed up that was gray, and then I just photocopied it like 5 times to get enough paper for the strips. This is the cobblestone stencil, and I used the rest of the rustic door stencil, stenciled that in, and then did the cobblestone to get my kind of porch or landing area. And I love the cobblestone stencil because it really has it has perspective. So it's kind of big at the bottom and smaller at the top. Now I'm coming back in with some Lucas acrylic paint, and I have a thing for red doors. My house has a red door. A lot of my houses that I've lived in have red doors. It's just red's one of my favorite colors. So that's why the door is red. I used the outline of that rustic door stencil, but did not keep the kind of wood grain on the outside area of the door. I did keep the wood grain in the inside of the door, and then we'll do a real light wash over that so that you can kind of see that. I'm just filling in the lines now and just making it look not so stenciled. But I love using my stencils as my guide. It's super easy. I don't have to think. It gives me my shape, and then I can kind of come back over it and paint away some of the stenciled look. So here I'm just kind of watering down my paint and getting kind of a wash look over those middle areas, and that helps you see that kind of wood grain line through it. And I love how it turned out. The color that I'm using is Algerian Crimson, or all the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog will be down below in the YouTube description box. So you can see that I'm doing both pieces, the winter and the spring, at the same time. The focus will be on the winter, of course, but you'll get to see kind of the progress. It's basically the exact same thing. I'm filling in my windows a little bit more, giving them a little bit more gesso. And I've outlined my windows because I needed to kind of see them a little bit more to kind of get an idea of where to go. I'm also kind of filling in around the door with some more gesso. That red is very hard to cover. So I ended up putting a couple of coats on, and it still didn't cover it completely, but it was good enough because I knew I was going to do a glaze over it. Now I'm going to just accentuate the paneling or the siding or whatever you want to call it, the paper. I'm taking my flat square palette knife with a combination of gesso and Deco Art Americana paint in cobblestone, and kind of just picking up a little bit here and there on my palette knife and then putting it down, and it was perfect. Taking my brayer and kind of softening out some of the hard edges. I didn't want to take it all away because it was, there's a reason why I'm doing it this way to begin with, but some of it was very hard lined and I wanted to soften it up a little bit, so I used my brayer. But it just looks so much like siding or wood paneling or something like that. I just love the look and the texture. Oh, so yummy good. Now I'm adding just a little bit more white gesso, just for some highlight to kind of maybe even things out a little bit where there might be too much gray, that kind of thing. Adding a little bit of gesso over the top with my palette knife on the window boxes to kind of give it this kind of stucco-y feel. Now I've mixed up some burnt umber and raw umber together and added some Deco Art's Americana glazing medium. I'm just going to go over pretty much everything with the exception of the windows and just get a real good grungy feel. Just makes me happy. Pulling it back with a shop towel. Then I'm just going to spray a little bit of alcohol onto my rag and go back over it and look at the beauty. It just makes me, I just love it. Picks up all of the detail. It picks up all of the texture and raised areas. It's just so, so good. Put a little bit of raw umber on my finger and dipped it in water just to kind of give a little bit of grunginess to the window boxes. They're not going to be seen much anyway, but part of the process. So now I'm going to kind of start completing the piece with the accents and that kind of thing. And this is the part of the large door stencil, the little baskets with the trees. And I'm using, again, Lucas acrylic paints. And for the baskets, I used cobblestone in sugared peach. Same with this wreath. I did the light underneath the wreath so that the green would show up. And I'm using the olive green and just adding either some raw umber to it or adding some gesso to it to get some variation. Coming back with short, skinny brush strokes for the trees. And this is important because you'll see me do the spring ones and it'll be different. So short, skinny brush strokes with a variety of color, variations of color, I should say, in the green to give me kind of that pine tree look. And then up here I am making branches of pine, and again that's important because you'll see me do the spring one with different types of leaf shapes. And again, same colors with for the flower boxes that I did with the trees. And same colors on the wreath. I just add quick little brush strokes to kind of fill in the wreath a little bit. So here's the spring one, and I don't show you a whole lot of what I do on that one, but I wanted you to see how my brush strokes are bigger and fatter like leaves, and how you can take something, you know, stenciled and really make it your own. Same with the flower boxes. The leaves are bigger and fatter and the color is brighter. Back to the winter one, I'm just adding some Alzerian crimson hue in like berries and just like drops of paint in there to kind of give it that holly feel. Winter berries. Now comes the snow, and the snow I feel like just makes it come alive. I'm just using a very small palette knife and my gesso and just getting that snow on there like they just had a winter storm and it's resting lightly on all of the things. A little bit of gesso on my palette knife for the windows, kind of like a frosty look. And a little bit of gesso on maybe like some of the shingles where it might have been caught or blown onto. And then I kind of piled up the snow on the sides like you'd just shoveled it from the front door. And what's really interesting about this is I would have never known the details of snow and how it looks and what happens when there's a storm until we moved to Ohio, because I've always lived in the Southwest. So here's, I'm putting some flowers in, and this one is not finished because there's a lot more that I want to do, and you'll get to see it at the end. But I'm not crazy about the flower colors. And so I'm gonna change a few things, but I'm excited about this one too because I can see the potential in it. So I hope you stick around for the conversation at the end. It's a good one about what I wrote and how I put that into this piece and how our stories so matter and what really is home for us. It's such a good one. And I needed it this week. I'm going to do all of my shading with my charcoal pencil and a tiny bit of soft pastels, not too much on the winter one, and add just a few final touches. Again, all the supplies will be listed on the blog, and the link to the blog is down below in the YouTube description box. All of the stencils that I used today will be on sale this week. I'm just kind of adding my shading here and there. I didn't want to add too much because it just felt good. It felt good at the place that it was at. Everything just felt comfy. And so I didn't want to overdo it, but I knew it needed just a tiny bit of shading. And then I will shade around the edges with a black soft pastel. And that's really it, my friend. Thank you so much for being here today. And if you enjoyed today's project, do subscribe and like and share and all those wonderful things. I hope you have a restful week, and I will see you next Sunday. Well, hello, my friends, and happy Sunday to you. Look at this beauty. I'm just so pleased with how this turned out. I was not feeling it when I started, which is part of the reason why I did two, this winter and the spring one. And I'll share more about that in a minute. Yeah, I just, once I kind of got the background down, I really kind of got into it. And once I got the meaning, because I had the idea, but I was trying to find my meaning in it, and I found it, and that changed it completely. But just real quick before I move on to the meaning of the piece, a couple things. This week, Art Bundle for Good is on sale, and it is an amazing, amazing deal. My Abstract Journey Workshop is part of the bundle, and it sells for $67 just regularly, while the total bundle, which is 108 courses, sells for $97. So it's just, I actually bought it for myself because I'm super excited about a couple of the courses, but there's a ton of mixed media courses and lots of wonderful artists: Dina Wakely, Flora Bowley, Laylee Mill, Mary Beth Shaw, Tamara Laporte, I can't even name them all, and super excited about this bundle and all that it has. And so I hope you'll take a look at that. I'll have a link down below in the YouTube description box if you want to grab that, because it's only on sale for 5 days. So once you see this, you'll have a couple more days, and that's it. The next thing is the stencils that I used will be on sale. And then Stella and I did a live this week, and we had some fun and relaxed, and the work that she created was amazing. So I'll have a link for that. And then I'll also have a fun quick video in the resource library of a series that I did. And that's about it. So, well, let's see what else. I think that's it. Okay, so to the meaning of this piece. So when I knew I was like, I need to do something winter because I just haven't done anything too holiday-ish, too wintry, or anything like that. And I was feeling like I needed to do something, and I'm putting cards. We've got new cards in the shop, and I'm putting some holiday cards together, and so I needed to do something wintry, and I was like, this would be, I had the idea, and I just wasn't into it. I just was really struggling with it. I didn't want to do it. And that's why I did the spring one, which is not done. I'm going to add a whole bunch more to it. I'm going to change some of the colors of the flowers and then add some more pots and stuff to really kind of make it more homey, because it's missing something. And so that's why I did the spring one, because I'm like, in my mind, I was thinking, I want to be done with winter. I want to skip right on over into 2021 and have it be spring and warm and sunshiny and better attitude and all that kind of stuff. That was kind of where I was at. And so as I started to kind of think about this piece, and I'm like, this is home. And I knew I was going to put home on there. I'm like, what does home mean for you, Shawn? And so I knew that I wanted some papers in the background, and I was like getting ready to print out some script that I have as part of some collage packs. And I thought, why not write out, because I was going to write it out anyway in my journal, write it out on paper that I could use in the background. And I was like, yeah, that's a great idea. So yeah, I'm having a conversation with myself. So I wrote out, home is my safety, my fortress, the place that I can just be myself. No masks. And how important that and significant that is for this year. Home is the place where I dream and rest and gain courage. Home is not necessarily a physical structure, but a place where I can go to feel, to rest, to build. Home this year has represented so much. With this pandemic, it truly has been the shelter. I'm ready for this season of life to move on, and for spring to bloom and to let go of the gloomy winter outlook, and to feel lighter, to feel a lightness in my heart and in my home. Home is where memories are made, where laughter is heard, where hearts are broken, heartbreak is shared, where tough conversations are had. Home is where tempers can flare and forgiveness given and received. Home is also FaceTiming with the kids and seeing their beautiful faces, sharing their stories, and trying to walk alongside them when they're so far away. Home is within me, a place that I constantly go back to when I'm off balance, when things feel out of control. Home is my faith and home is my faith and my walk with you, Lord. Home always calls me back to rest, to begin again on a never-ending journey of growth. And so once I wrote this out and I kind of put it all down, it was like, okay, I eased my way in and it felt good. My story was here. My story was in the piece, and I could create from that place of home. Home is so many things. Home is not necessarily a physical place, although that's what this is representing. Home is within me, and home is the place that I go to rest, to renew, to begin again, to grow. And once I really kind of felt that moving through me, this was easy. And as I started creating and I started putting those papers down, it really felt more like what I wanted instead of what I had to do. and it felt good. And I created the spring one just because I wasn't sure how I was going to feel exactly about the piece, and wanted to have some options. And so anyway, I just want to remind you today that your home is within you, and I hope that you are home within yourself, that you're comfortable enough with who you are, and that you know yourself so much that you know when you need to take a step back and reset and regroup and breathe, and all the words that you want to use for that. Because when I wrote down, I want to feel that lightness. It's not like necessarily everything is bad. We are healthy. Our kids are healthy. They're far away, but they're healthy. We haven't had like traumatic things, but there's just this heaviness with all the things, and I'm ready to feel that lightness. And I can help myself do that when I go home. And sometimes that's my physical home, when I can just curl up on the couch and in a blanket and just kind of zone out, read a book, watch some TV. And sometimes that's home when I'm working away and I've got all kinds of deadlines. I can retreat into my soul and take a breather and say, Shawn, and to do my self-talk, to write out my journal, to write out my words, to write all the things. I can retreat into my soul, my home here. And when we take that time, we grow. We grow. We learn something, we rest, we get energized, and we can move on and continue on. And so, short and sweet today, I just want to tell you, I hope you are home today, that you are finding some rest and some peace and a place where you can retreat to rest and grow. And I hope that you always, always know that you are loved.